Beginning Podcast, episode 17, with Matt from Rogue Print Co. Hello, hi Matt.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Are you all right?
Yes, brilliant.
Is this
I'm
going
really
to be
excited
okay
for
with
this
it if I
one.
don't have any headset?
I can still hear you nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks
The
quite
quality
bright.
is okay. So
Not too bad.
I've got this.
I
So I
think.
just look like a giant nerd.
No, I think you're good. Yeah.
Cool. Lovely.
Is that your gamer headset?
Yeah, it's like it's one of them. Yeah. Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay. Do you want to start by saying like who you are and what your business is?
Yep. My name is Matt, and I run Rogue Print Co. And I am a screen printer, basically, but I do bits of other stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm doing like a deep dive into what you're doing, and it's kind of like you're curating your pop culture, you're a collector, and you're just like putting it all together, formatting it and putting it out to the world.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of all, everything happens by, you kind of just do what you enjoy, don't you, typically? And so I sort of fell into when I started Rogue, my plan was to print for other people. And you sort of think, well, how do I get work? How do I, what do I do? You sort of set up a website or whatever, and you sit there and you're waiting at the computer for the emails to start coming in, and nothing happens. You're like, shit. So we started to just print things. I don't know where we got the advice. Someone somewhere said just print stuff and sell it yourself as well. And so that's what we started doing. And that was the side, quite quickly, that was the side of it that I was really enjoying, because I could pick what I was printing then, and not just, because I mean, I used to get some crazy designs through the email, and I was just like, oh man, that was done on paint.
I know. So what did you do before that made you want to, is this like, did you have like a full stop and then you switched and then wanted to become a printer, or what did you do before?
I grew up in bands, and we would always do like the artwork for posters and the artwork for our t-shirts, and I vividly remember getting t-shirts through, and when we were kids, like you'd get like 10 or 20 shirts tops, and you'd spend like £100 or £200 or whatever it was on them, and I just remember seeing them and being like, this is amazing, like this is so cool, it's like legit. And I fell in love with like the merch aspect of it, even though that when you're a small band, like no one comes near merch with a barge pole. It was quite quickly the bit of it that I was sort of attracted to, and sort of seeing as time was going by and I was getting a little bit older, that I wasn't going to be in a band forever, and I wasn't going to, the party was going to end. It felt like the way that I was going to sort of keep my foot in that world, I suppose. And and so while I was in the band, I was doing like I did my foundation art degree.
Cool.
You call it an art degree. My foundation in art at my local college, and I ended up working there like years later. But that was the first time I ever did like a course that I really enjoyed. And then I went off to uni and I did fine art printmaking.
Wow, cool.
And hated it.
How did you? What kind of things were they getting you to do? Like fine art printmaking? That's
all of the stuff that you like, the techniques that you get to do are like amazing. Like the print room there is amazing. Like I went to they call it Cambridge School of Art and Design, but it's like the Anglia Ruskin University,
Right.
to the old Polytechnic, and they've got like this amazing print studio. Like I applied to loads of places and went to all of them and was like, oh, I'm thinking about Manchester maybe. But Cambridge was the last interview that I had, and I remember going into it like, just need to tick this box off and like go to Manchester. And I walked in and I met the dude who was a legend, and I saw the place and I just fell in love with it completely. And they were like, there's going to be 12 people, and I am like a small numbers of people. It's better for me. So I like ripped his arm off and went there.
12 is awesome. Ours was like 250 or something.
Yeah, some of the hangers that I saw like gave me like, I don't suffer from anxiety, but like made me feel like I was going to drown in these rooms. Like they were crazy. I just didn't want to be there. But yeah, so 12 people tops. This amazing print room. They had a separate screen printing room, which was empty. No one ever did it. And I went into all the workshop, but it was fine art. So it was, you know, you have crits all the time, and you're listening to people talking about like mental health stuff and how it relates to their art. And I just could feel myself like, I don't belong here. Like, or I should have done like graphics or something, you know what I mean? Like,
no one talks about mental health in graphics.
I was just like, this is not right for me. And so I didn't wrap it up, but you know, I actually found this downstairs. So the first thing I ever screen printed en masse, it's like digipack for my band, like
CD case.
I did like 100 of them. And you know, I'd screen printed before. In, you know, they do workshops with you and they taught you how to use the exposed units and everything, and it was very much a case of, you know, here's how you prep a screen, and that's where they're kept. And it was like, okay, cool, and that's perfect for me. You come in on your own, headphones in, and crack on with it. And so instead of doing like, you know, stuff that fed into my course, I ended up just sort of like doing stuff for my band, and and then, you know,
like, what does this mean to you? And you're like, I can
I would
sell
not,
it on Saturday.
I just stopped going to crits and stuff. Like I just couldn't handle it. Just really wasn't for me. And I thought about changing one year to do graphics, and then I thought, oh no, I really love printing. And I really loved having the access to the print room. And I was like, oh, I'll lose all that. And so I said, I can make it work. And I went back and I was like, I really can't. You can't fake that kind of stuff, you know. You don't feel that way about work. It's really difficult to fake it. So
especially in a group of 12, you could have faded into the background in a bigger group, but that's serious.
Everybody knows your name when there's 12 of you, that's for sure.
So what did you kind of like excel at uni, or did you do, is it like you're naturally quite a good drawer, or do you think you pull together things like collage? Or
I think I just enjoy working with my hands. I just get into something and I just play around. Like I've never really completed anything. Like I've never had like a like whenever I see artists who've got like a project idea and they're sort of like dipping into it again and again, I'm like, oh, man, wish I thought of that. But I never think of any. I just don't think of stuff. I just so the thing that I mostly did at uni was hopefully I'm getting it right, was a process called aquatint, and it's basically, it's like the most laborious process they had there, and no one did it. So I was like, perfect. And you get a sheet of metal and you degrease it, and you've got like this big pizza oven that's full of like this fine yellow powder, and you've got to like PPE up and everything, and you kind of whiz it so it sort of gets all this powder like coming down inside the pizza oven, and then you open it, put your plate in, close it for 30 seconds or whatever, pull it out, and then you've got to melt the powder on the plate without burning it. So you've got like a little camping stove in there, that you're like super dangerous.
It sounds like you're just playing with like asbestos.
It could be. That could be what it was. But you can't. And then once that's sort of melted and it cools and it's dried, then it's ready to go in acid baths. And what you would do is you'd paint some kind of varnish or something on it and drop it in an acid bath, and then paint more on, clean it, paint more on, drop it in an acid bath, and you generate like this amazing textured tonal thing. And like every time I did it, I was just like, it was like abstract experiments. And sometimes, you know, it's like how long, you know, you'd have those strips, like exposure strips, I guess, like the exposure calculators and what have you, and figure it out. And but I found some of them like not that long ago, and they just look like really like abstract space scenes, you know, there were nothing. Like I just thought I was in there for so long and all I came up with was nothing.
But sometimes, like, do you feel like it is the process that you're enjoying and you're getting stuff out of instead of like the end result?
Maybe I think it can be. I think it absolutely can be. I think that feeling like you're getting good at something is a big part of it. Like troubleshooting stuff. Like I'm whenever I've had an issue with screen printing, which I've had many issues, you know, it's like a headache and you hate it and you're like, why can't this just work? And you're like so stressed out in the moment. When you crack it and you figure it out and you fix it and you never have that problem again, you're like, oh. And I've got friends who I sort of offloaded a bunch of my old gear to this guy who I went to college with, and he's sort of starting his sort of journey off, and you know, he's calling me up and sending me videos like, what's this, what's happening here, and I'm just like, oh man, like I totally get it. It's pretty. I'm just gonna put this on airplane mode. Sorry, it's buzzed.
It might be me.
But yeah,
But like when you went back to teach at the college, is it like, were you enjoying the teaching side of it quite a lot, or what was
I think I really I think I loved the idea. A lot of times I think you like the idea of something and then you try it and you go, I don't, it's not for me. I love the idea of teaching, and I still love the idea of teaching, but without ranting about everything, like, you know, when I went to college, you had to be in full-time education until you were 16 years old, and then you could get an apprenticeship, you could go to college if you wanted to, or get a job. And now you have to be in full-time education until you're 18.
Really?
And so what that has meant, in my experience from just my, you know, my observations, is that schools, secondary schools, typically a lot of them have sixth form colleges now, and so they try and keep hold of students as much as possible. So whereas you'd have queues of, when I applied to college, it felt competitive, and now like you've got kids that walk in like 2 weeks into the start of the year and they're like, yeah, sit down, we'll get you a sketchbook. And not saying that that's wrong, but they're not drawing from as many people.
They're not driven, maybe, like, for some reason.
Well, they've got to be there. They've got to be there. And I think a lot of the time you end up with kids who go, I've got to go to college. What sounds like it's not going to be maths and English is going to be art. You know what I mean? And I have had like some great students who, like, I'm interested in what they're up to now, I suppose. But it's not even 50%. And that's not, you know, it's not their fault. It's not my fault. It's just the way it is. And so I did, before I actually started teaching like 18-year-olds, first bit of teaching I ever did was a printmaking evening class for mature students. Yeah. And that was the most fun. It was just the absolute most fun. Everyone that's coming to it wants to be there. And that's kind of the key thing, I think. If you're not only planning a lesson, but you're trying to figure out how to motivate a room full of teenagers.
Just takes the fun side out of it.
I don't have the brain capacity for. I'm not the right kind of person for it, I guess. I certainly don't enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. Can we talk about your stock and your items in your shop?
Yeah,
because
of course, please. Yeah.
The reason I found you was because Heck Press had bought some stickers from you, and I thought the sticker was so hilarious. I had to make sure that I found out where it was from.
Oh, okay.
And it was one of your stickers that says something like, it's like a screenshot on Twitter, I think, and it says like, don't buy his shit from Rogue Print, it's bollocks, or something like that.
Yeah, I know. My arch nemesis.
Yeah.
So,
Is it a legit thing, or is it a
yeah,
joke,
no, it's an
or?
actual tweet. This guy sent that tweet to me. So the way it happened was, it was sort of like my phone buzzed, and it was something like 10 o'clock in the evening, and I just looked at it, and it was this tweet, and it said, "Don't buy shit from Rogue Print Co. Fucking trash."
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? Like out of nowhere. And I kind of didn't, and it's Twitter, so there's no way for me to really like cross-reference who this guy is, and I just sort of didn't think anything of it. And then like half an hour, put my phone back away, and then half an hour later, my phone buzzed again, and it was this really sort of like kind of a politely written email
Right.
from this guy called Robert saying, "Hello, I ordered these shorts, but they've not been delivered. I looked into it, and he basically put his old address down, and
Right.
they were being shipped back to me or whatever." And
so that was just his little Karen moment on Twitter.
so he obviously
No,
realized something happened, and he was like, "Oh, I've not got those shorts yet." And I was like, this guy Rogue Print Co. has clearly scammed me. I'm gonna slag him off on Twitter. So he sent that, and then he emailed me afterwards, and I just refunded him. I was like, "It's coming back to me, don't worry about it." But I just loved it so much that, and I've made like that sticker so many times, like just keep making it.
I really love that. I think everyone should keep up their bad reviews now and just frame them and make, because if you turn it into an art piece, then it takes all of the power out of it, and it just makes it funny.
Totally. So, I mean, I found the whole situation hilarious, and the reality is, as much I make jokes about how I'm maybe not a people person or whatever, but if someone orders something off me, I do my best to make sure it's sorted.
Yeah.
If there's an issue. So the reason that was funny to me was because this guy didn't even give me a chance. He just slagged me off straight away. But yeah, I mean, luckily or not, like I'm currently on Big Cartel, and there's no review system for that. But I know people are on Etsy, and I'm like, oh man, like asking everybody that buys from you for a review. Like I would just get like, took too long 1,000 times. That's all I would get.
But it's kind of like, it kind of weirdly marries in with some of the stuff that you're doing, because it's kind of like, don't give a fuck, swearing. Like I'm having to put explicit already when I'm uploading this podcast. I know I'm going to have to tick the
Sorry, I swore.
box.
I shouldn't have sworn.
No, I swear all the time as well. But I just think it's like, it's kind of just like heavy metal culture that like, and you're like creating things that could be in zines and like merch at bands. It's kind of like you expect it not to come next day, like neatly packaged. But I know you're going to try your best with it. I just feel like,
I mean, I actually pack my stuff really neatly.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I just don't expect it. I just feel like
a lot of people, like I order a lot of stuff, and it's like a shirt in a bag, and I like put it in a paper envelope with some stickers and like washing instructions, and I seal it with a little stick. I used to, before I got into paper bags, I used to wrap everything up in tissue paper, like properly like fold it. And I used to write everyone little notes to say thank you, and I'd try and be like, don't just say thank you, like put their name, make it personalized. And I used to individually number all the little swing tags that I put on the shirts and everything, and all these stupid things that no one cares about, but I was like, this is the thing I should be spending my time on. So, you know, I take that sort of part of it, I suppose, a bit more seriously than I probably seem like I would. But,
I think it's just a generalization that you're getting like a handmade item that's quite like grungy. It's literally got like things like cum socks written on it. So you're not expecting it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we would be having. COVID's been weird.
Right, go on.
Let's admit it. COVID's been weird. We'd be having a much different conversation if we'd spoken even a year ago.
Yeah.
But like, it got weird. My bread and butter, my main thing is that I work with artists that I really like.
Yeah.
To make stuff that maybe they don't have the resources or availability, or they don't want to take the risk on, because the way that I do it is all pre-order. And that means that, you know, I still print. So today, really good example, I've put up a pair of shorts with Matt Bailey, and he sent me the artwork through, and we tested it, and I printed like a handful of these shorts, and I sent him pictures, and we were like, you know, we weren't happy. And so I went back and burnt a new screen and did them again. And we were like, yeah, cool. And then I took photos of it, then I've listed it on the shop, and then it's for sale. So it's kind of like the long way around doing it. Like a lot of people that do pre-orders, like mock stuff up, and then either direct to garment, or, you know, get their screen printer to, the screen printer provides them with the mock-up that they list or whatever. But, you know, I've typically, you know, 99% of the time pre-printed a handful for tests to make sure everything's coming through okay. So I'm not saying, I'm not, you know, giving you unrealistic expectations. And yes, that means that we can fix any problems like I did with Matt. But yeah, I'm bouncing all over the place. My bread and butter is working with artists like that.
Yeah, typically. I feel like that comes across because sometimes I can see that you're physically printing in like some of your videos, but you're actually like picking out things that are quite unusual, like embroidery kits and like really nice, lots of different things, haven't you? You've got like the women's wear, you've got like the properly woven socks. And is it just that those people selling on Etsy themselves, but you're just better at marketing and better at promoting and selling those batches of things? Like, they're coming to you.
So I work with some artists who have their own shops and sell like t-shirt. Again, t-shirts is my main thing. And you know, I work with artists who sell their own shirts. Like Matt Bailey's got his own shirt shop, but he and I run our businesses completely differently. He will kind of create like a big drop. He'll have like maybe 4 or 5 shirts, a hoodie, a jacket, a hat, 2 hats, 3 hats, some patches, some pins, whatever. Like he'll have a big drop, and he'll do stuff like that. Whereas I typically, because I'm working, I sell something, then I make it. You know, while I'm selling Matt Bailey right now, but I'm making what I sold last week. Right. And so I'm busy all the time, but and that's how I do it. Yeah. Whereas he'll have like a really busy month with selling merch, and then he'll just like leave it ticking over while he does other stuff. Yeah. And so a lot of people do that, and some people have come to me with like their kind of more crazy things that they've been like, would you be interested in this, Matt? Like, I don't know if it's got, you know, these guys, they want to print 100 shirts typically, at least.
So like, are you fronting up the cost of the garments and stuff, or like how much of the kind of responsibility that in the money you having to take on? Is it a
Well,
bit of risk, or?
Well, there is a little, I suppose there is a little bit of, I mean, I'm committing to, the risk is I'm committing to print whatever we sell. So if we sell 2 shirts, I'm committing to going into the studio and making 2 shirts.
Okay.
And that's kind of where my judgment comes into play, I suppose. In terms of upfront costs, you know, I've got a sort of small supply of shirts on hand, and I typically, you know, like everybody, use a lot of black shirts. And I've got, you know, inks and stuff like that. Occasionally, like, you know, I want to do a shirt with someone and it will require like a specific red. And I'm like, right, well, I've got to order a litre of red ink or whatever. And I've got the scales. I don't have enough space to really get into custom mixing myself. I've thought about it. It's kind of easier for me just to
Mix
get
by
into
it.
Yeah. And then, you know, I label it, put it on the shelf, and I've got it then, and I try and use it up. That's, so, you know.
Yeah, I see. So it's not like too crazy.
No, I mean, the biggest thing. Sorry,
you go. The biggest thing.
The biggest risk that I've taken was the cum socks.
Yeah.
That was
minimum orders, right?
Because you have to order like hundreds of these things. So you're talking about like thousands of pounds on a joke. You know?
I know. I can't stop giggling about it.
I suppose that's the riskiest. You know, when I do stuff with artists, typically it's not so stupid.
Yeah.
But the cum stuff, if you don't mind talking about that for a split second, just so I can
no, it's funny, especially the I've forgotten what the acronym is, but it's like you've got you can talk about it, like what it all stands for and stuff.
So you know, it's just me working here
right
at home, but you know, I've got a guy that helps me out every once in a while, called Steve. Hi, Steve. And I've got a really good friend of mine who just so happens to be like the greatest designer on the planet, called Benno. Well, it's not his name's Ben, but we call him Benno. And and we just do stuff to make each other laugh. Yeah. Like stupid stuff. And I saw this meme, and it was a bunch of kids wearing a t-shirt that said "come on it." It's clearly like a football team, like didn't look like it was an English football team. And so maybe there's no, you know, the translation's lost or whatever. Like it's not inappropriate to them. And it tickled me, and I thought, you know, I wonder if someone's made like a cum football shirt, and no one had. And I've got a friend who plays like five-a-side football. No, mate, it's proper football. He plays proper football like all the time. And I was asking him if there's like a, you know, like an ethical football shirt producer, and he's like, no, they're awful. They're all awful. Like, don't get them. So I was like, shit, okay. And so that's what brought me to like ringer shirts and baseball shirts, because I can get them as well. And so I was like, I want it to look sporty. I want it to look like similar to that meme, so like that kind of college font. And I'm just going to send it to Benno, but I'm going to put it in the shop too. Like you properly printed it and sent it. Properly printed it. Made a screen and printed it. Like me in my garage, I printed it. And that's why it's funny. If I just mocked it up, it wouldn't, you know, it'd be like, oh yeah, good one. But like, I'd actually spent the time to make the fucking thing. And sent him, and he was like, what is that for? And I was like, well, I'm sending them, mate. And we were like riffing about how it needed to have an acronym. And he fired over Cambridge University Mountaineering. And I just pissed myself. It's so funny because, you know, I lived in Cambridge for about 10 years, and it is like the flattest city in the world. It's so flat. And So I was like, that is fantastic. And so, you know, we riffed a bit, and we were like, oh, you know, I'll just put them up in the shop like a pre-order, like normal, but I'll say that, you know, there was a miscommunication with Cambridge University Mountain.
That was the bit which was so well done, because it's kind of like descriptions are where all the good shit happens now. So like below memes, like everyone just goes to the comments, but that was really funny.
But yeah,
so as if you'd had this commission and then it had fallen through, and now
exactly, or they'd seen them and gone, we don't, no, it just says come, Matt. But like, no, what do you mean? This is what you wanted. So that was the gag, and we were like, you know, we were moderately tickled by it.
Yeah.
And we put it on, and I posted about it on Twitter, and it had a pretty good reception on Instagram, which is where I sort of seem to do my best, I suppose, selling stuff. But Twitter just went absolutely crazy, and people were responding to it like, how did they not? How did no one catch this? How did no one catch this? This is so embarrassing.
It's disgusting.
You deserve this. You deserve it. Like stuff like that. And meanwhile, like, you know, all these people are also responding to me saying, Matt, just get yourself to a gay bar, mate. You'll be sold out in 10 minutes. And so it just was flying around. People were sharing it to each other. Like artists were drawing like their furry characters in the shirt, and I was just like, what? So I'm being like exposed to all these little subcultures that I was completely oblivious to. I was like, wow. And it's, you know, I don't know if I should be proud or embarrassed that it's the best-selling shirt I've ever done.
I think you should be proud, because it's kind of like, yeah, those types of things are the things that like get into like culture. It's kind of like why the Blair Witch Project was so good, because it was shit, but it was also like, is it real? Is that legit? And that's why it's like the best-selling thing, because it's a bit jarring. You're not sure how to take it. You think it's completely definitely not true, but then there's a little bit of you that thinks, no, that might be right.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I didn't get interviewed, but I got an email from some guy. Was it a DM on Twitter from this guy, and he writes for the Cambridge Uni like student paper, and he was like, and I couldn't tell whether he knew it was a joke and still wanted to report on it anyway. So he asked me if he could share the tweet in the newspaper, which I didn't know you had to do.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just being polite. And I said, absolutely. And I was like, and you can quote me on this. And I wrote out this like really stupid quote, and he didn't. I've got the screenshot of it somewhere. I'm going to put a little zine together with all the dumb stuff from this stupid shirt, because it's just it went. I've never experienced anything like it, and I might not again. You know, hopefully I have, you know, repeat success in stuff that isn't a shirt with the word "come" on it. But it was a wild ride for sure. Yeah, I mean, Matt Bailey, I mentioned him earlier, like he's on Instagram, and he's got like 700,000 followers on Instagram. And so if you ever dip into like his comment section, it's like a garbage fire is going on. It's absolute carnage.
Yeah.
He must just have to turn it off. And
you're just like fanning it sometimes.
Just not look at it. And then when he does, like maybe drop a bomb and then leave it. I don't know. But in this sort of like 3-day period, I got this tiny glimpse into what his world must be like all the time. And it's weird. It's really weird. It's really weird, like getting so many people like kind of praising you and then shitting on you, and you know the mixture of that is
it can happen. It can, like that virality is like something new in the last 10 years that I don't think, like, it used to be super rare for like a meme to go around and everyone know what it was, but now it's like people are hitting like TikTok and it's like me, like constant. So
Yeah.
if one of yours sparks, it can go crazy.
Do you have good success on TikTok?
Yeah, commercially for like the studio it is good, but I had one of a very like a small kind of version of what you had, but basically I was telling a story of how I don't have work experience people in the studio anymore.
Right.
And I've done like a 3-minute video on it, but basically what happened is the work experience guy came in and he did a poo in the toilet that was so big that he actually didn't tell me about it, and I had some important people in the studio and he just left. And then I
But you
panicked.
would though, wouldn't you? You wouldn't hang around.
Yeah. Well, there's options, right? Anyway, he left me with it and just didn't come back the rest of the week.
God.
Yeah, and then I panicked and I couldn't get it down because it was literally like the size of your arm. It was obscene. And I've got 4 brothers, and I used to live in a house with like 8 people, and no one ever did anything like that. Anyway.
Oh my God.
And I took it out the toilet with a bag on my hand.
Yep.
And I put it outside. I know. And then I tell the whole story basically on TikTok, and then you get like people going, "Oh, you're so brave," and then over here you're like, "Oh, you're abusing students for work experience. They don't get paid for that." And I'm like, I'm abusing him. I took his shit out of the toilet.
Did anyone call you a liar? Like, didn't happen.
No one called me a liar actually.
Oh, okay.
But I can see it spiraling because it went to like, it must be on 500,000 views now.
Amazing.
And I had papers calling me saying, "Oh, do you want to put this in?" I was like, I don't want it in paper. I can't control TikTok comments. I'm not going to control. No, just leave it there. And I don't really know why I put it up because it doesn't help the studio. It's just, I just thought it was funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think that was my 15 minutes of fame as well. And I don't want it back. But
you want it back, but for something good, not for someone shitting in your toilet.
Yeah, if I could latch a product onto it and then like sell it, that would be good. But yeah, you thinking about work experience?
Thinking about shit shirts now.
Yeah,
no.
I know. Should we get back to a little bit of screen printing?
Sure.
Like,
yeah, please.
So like, how did you like start to actually like develop your own little studio? Because you've obviously had the facilities elsewhere. Like, what kind of things were the first things that you got for your own setup?
So I went away from uni and having like, free access to tabletop presses for paper printing and stuff like that. And got a job and was still in the band kind of thing. And didn't touch a squeegee for a very long time. And I worked in a bar because it, allowed for, taking time off to go on tour and stuff like that. And it ended up just being like, oh, dude, I'm like in my 20s, and my job is I work in a bar. And I was like, I had not thought about what I was going to do. And I sort of stuffed the uni thing up. And I was like, crap. And in the back of my head, I was always like, I want to teach art. I want to print shirts. Genuinely, that's the two things that I wanted to do. And I should have dreamed a little bit bigger probably. But and so while I was working at the bar, I started with a friend called James, who I was in the band with. We started tossing around ideas about starting a screen printing studio because he also did his art foundation. He was into it as well. And as fate would have it, my mother-in-law had a sort of like this wonderful barn conversion at the bottom of the garden that she wasn't doing anything with. It was like, when I say perfect, like painfully perfect. And she had these lovely like slabbed floors, so I had to like go and I bought like a load of reclaimed carpet tiles to cover these like lovely slabs up, so I wasn't going to ruin them. And so we had to spend a lot of time like kind of getting it ready to put a studio in. We spent ages like putting the sort of studio together, and then we bought a like a curing unit, a tabletop 6-color tabletop carousel, because we'd sort of stuffed most of our money on the curing unit, and we tried to build everything else. So I've still got this actually. It's what I still use. I don't have a washout booth. I've got a so they used to in lofts have massive water tanks.
Yeah.
And we were like going to like DIY stores, like looking for something that we could like build into a washout booth. And we just pulled up in this one place and had these massive like water tanks. And we were like, what are they? And the guy was like, oh, you know, no one uses them anymore. I used to go in lofts. And we were like, it's perfect.
Yeah,
How much are they? And he went on the computer and was like, oh, they were like 200, 300 quid or something. And we went, oh, never mind. And he was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Do you want one? We were like, yeah. And he's like, what were you thinking? And we just said like 50 quid. And he went, yep. And like gave it to us. And so we just cut the front of it off, drilled a hole in, put a plug in it, and, you know, build a frame for it to sit in. And it works absolutely perfectly. It's just not backlit. You know, that's the only issue.
Everyone holds it up to the light anyway. So
I've got lights right next to me. Exactly. I just do that. But I just think, you know, that was the kind of thing that we did. Our drying rack was, you know, handmade, and we moved from that perfect studio when I had no work and no, you know, it was all of the space, none of the work, and then I'm now crammed into like a couple of rooms in my house and my garage, and I'm just like,
that printer is enormous. That's a huge one. Is it the same one as me? Is it a T1700 or something? No, all right, it's on a desk. Perspective wise, I thought that was like on the floor.
No, you can get it, obviously they come with stands.
Yeah.
But I don't have, you know, I've got a little plan chest here, and I was like, I'll just shove it on that, and so they didn't charge me for the stand. But it's a Shore Color T3 200.
Yeah, I think that's the smaller one that I've got. I've got its mum here. But from where I was looking at you, I thought that was on the floor, and then you just made everything look really small. This is
my life. Like everything is like, you know, everything's all over the place, and my guy that helps me out, Steve, you know, I know him from college. I worked with him at college, so it was a perfect kind of fit for because he's got to come into my house and work with me in my house with my family and stuff. You know, it's not the kind of thing you just put an ad on the internet for necessarily. And yeah, all of my work stuff is mixed in with my life stuff. These are like my personal prints that I haven't framed yet, and you know, all of my junk is mixed in. So what
does it look like when he comes over? Does he have his own desk? Is he there to draw, or are you just there
no?
To,
so we typically if we're packing, we work together when we're doing like packing and stuff like that. It works brilliantly. Just create like a little bit of I've taken over the dining room downstairs. It's not a dining room anymore. It's like the hub, I suppose. So all of my stock is in there. I say all of it. I don't carry a lot of stock, but when I bring stuff in from the garage, that's where it goes, and we fold it. Like me and him will sit there and fold it up, and then stack it up, and then one of us will pack a bag, the other one will put it on the system or whatever. He might do envelopes up here in the office while I'm printing, or he'll do screens. You know, we either do different things or we do the same thing and make it work. It's, you know, we're very comfortable with each other, so we can kind of be on top of each other a little bit and it not be like the weirdest thing in the world, you know.
So you know, you're both putting in the same amount of effort, perhaps.
Sorry,
you could just feel like you're putting in the same amount of effort.
Dude, he's great. He's like he's like a really, to give you an idea about Steve, he works full-time teaching at college, So he plans all of his lessons, he's teaching. He is in like an award-winning, like I think they won like a national champion like brass band. Like he plays like trumpet. I could have got that wrong. It could be one of the other ones that looks like a trumpet.
Trombone, I used to play trombone.
Really? So, but he's like, you know, he's great, and he's just finished his master's in photography. And I asked him if he'd be interested in helping me out, and he was like, let me think about it. And then a week later he was like, yeah. So he's doing his master's, he's planning all of his lessons, he's got band practice, he's got a wife, and he still comes over and helps me out like a couple of days here and there. And I'm just like, you know, this is a very organized person. And, you know, so I suppose when I met Steve at work, we had similar roles, and I thought, oh fuck, like this guy's good, he's really good, he's going to make me look really shit. I hope he's not a dick about it. And we just got on like a house on fire, and on paper I feel like we shouldn't, in a way, not that, you know, either of us have done anything, but you know, he should find me frustrating. Maybe he does.
He just puts up with you.
He puts up with it, and he's like, great, and he's like, oh, I've had an idea for this, and I'm like, thank you, like that's such a good idea. Like, and so having that person to bounce things off again is amazing, because I can be like, hey Steve, what do you think of this? And yeah, so
do you see like any point in going into like a bigger space just to have space, because you might be like taking over too much of the house? Like, are you trying to expand?
We had this conversation. So just before COVID hit, like probably 2 weeks before, I had a meeting at like an industrial unit, and they showed me like 3 different size spaces, and I was sold. I was good to go. I was going to do it with. So the whole thought process for me was, it is very difficult to justify it when I can kind of do everything that I'm doing at home, and I'm not then paying that money. But I was going to.
Do you think you'd expand into the space though? Because like once you've got different bills and things to pay, you kind of do naturally like expand everything and make.
Because you do embroidery as well, don't you?
Yeah, I've got an embroidery machine. I've never really got into it like massively, where I've dedicated like myself to getting like a huge thing, and I don't really do it for customers that much. But yeah, we're kind of getting away from the custom orders, because I was touring around industrial spaces like you at the beginning.
You're not in an industrial space.
Kind of. It's like it's technically a commercial building, but like my brother's building company owns it, so it's kind of like we're in the back end. We're in the arse end of a garage, basically.
Okay.
But I mean like commercial units.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought in my head, right, yeah, I'm not big enough for this. I can't take on these bills. But surely when you expand into the space, you're thinking bigger, you're taking the bigger risk orders, and you just kind of do it. I feel like you just
I think you. I mean, I could have, as it shook out, like, because I think a hesitation was COVID. Another hesitation was I was going to split the cost of it with a friend who, you know, he prints for himself too. But he is the artist. He doesn't print for other artists. He prints for himself. And we were like, well, we could just like pool our equipment, pool some funds, and get like a risograph printer, get like an embroidery machine, so we could do our own like hats and stuff. Because, you know, I do hats, like I don't do many hats, you know, like I do like between 20 and 50 hats. And I'm like,
that's a chunk.
I could do that. I could, you know, I could embroider that myself and sell that, knowing nothing about embroidery.
Oh yeah, no. Honestly, I think it's like, I don't know anything about embroidery still. I know some settings on the embroidery machine, and I send the files away to the embroidery guy and he sends them back. And like when we were getting trained, it was like, yeah, you have to tell them what the embroidery machine and what needles. It's like, they don't give a fuck. You just send it, get the embroidery file back, put it in, and then you just sew it out a couple of times. Oh, that doesn't look great. Tweak, like there's like 3 things to tweak on there until the threads look nice, and then you're done. It's not like screen print. So
yeah, I'm quite lucky. I've got super weird. My cousin, who I, you know, had no real relationship with like my entire life. I just so happened to like ask him for a quote for pins. He was like a pin producer.
Cool.
It wasn't his name. I don't think it was his name at the time. Like, and he responded to me. And his name was, you know, he had the same surname, and it's an odd surname. And I was like, "Are we related?" And it was like, "Yeah, no, I'm your cousin." I was like, "Holy shit! Like that's the fucking craziest thing." And so he ran for a small time. He's kind of tried everything. I think like he set it up as a pin business. Then he sort of bought an embroidery machine. He did a bit of embroidery, and then he bought like some screen print stuff, and he dabbled in that for a bit. And he got 3D printers. Like he's got a laser cutter now. Like he kind of is. I think he's trying to find a thing that he's really stoked to do all the time. I think that if he had enough space, he'd have it all. But he still does embroidery, and for me, he's perfect because I can, you know, we have a connection. So literally. So I can ask him, and so I asked him to do something recently for me. And I sent him the file, and I was like, look, it's like a blown up like emoji. So it's like it was originally tiny, and I've kind of gone into Photoshop, and I've done a little bit of tidying myself, and I was like, look, I don't want to overdo it. You tell me how much it needs to be cleaned up, and I'll get it to you, and at what size. And he's taken it away, and I sent it to him, and he just kind of did it. And he sent me like the embroidery, like the progress, and it looks amazing. And he kind of, and I would not find an embroiderer that would do that for me. So, you know, I got really lucky with him. You know, it's a really weird thing, but yeah. So
what is his business and stuff? Like, what is he?
He's Atomic Pins on Instagram. Yeah. So I think that he has started like another one. I think on TikTok it's Atomic Props. I go on TikTok for about 10 seconds and I just hate the way the app works. I don't dislike the idea of videos or anything. I hate that stuff plays automatically. That really bothers me. Like Instagram started doing it now. Like I'll be sat there on the sofa with my wife watching telly, and then all of a sudden like a song blares out my phone. I'm like, fuck. So you just ruined the emotional climax of Spider-Man. But yeah, he had some recent. He vanished for like a week, and I was like, why can't I get hold of you? And he's like, oh, I've just like kind of blown up a little bit on TikTok, and I've been really busy with orders. It's like, so it's fantastic. You know, he's got his own thing going on. He's not like my lackey.
I can see you going really well on TikTok. It's just like this. It's a humour, and I think it's distinctly British humour, but it's also like, I think it just plays really well, and you either get it or you don't. And even if you don't, you're still commenting and adding to you're like chiming in with your like reactions to the types of things that you're creating. So I think you'd probably do well on it. But if you don't particularly,
I've got one. I've put some stuff again. Like I've not really got to grips with it. I've only just really got to grips with reels.
Yeah, your reels are really funny. Like, I just watched a whole reel of you turning on all the stuff in the studio, and I was like, when's it? Oh, it's
when's it gonna start?
More plugs, more plugs.
I really pissed myself off. I posted it and I was like, the toaster. Why didn't you turn on the toaster? But yeah, no. But the reels thing, I don't necessarily want to do them. I suppose I would love to live in a world where I could just post a picture of a t-shirt and people would see it, you know. But
it's just changed, so they're just not, they don't give a shit about pictures anymore.
At the same time, like, you know, I don't work at the college anymore. This is my everything. So I'm not gonna turn my nose up at an opportunity to market myself if it's literally the case of being an idiot on a video, because I do that to my friends all the time. It's just, I suppose it's trying to find it's like this for me is probably a bit weird. Like, I've spoken on podcasts before, but
because you have a podcast, don't you?
Yeah.
So it's like,
technically I do.
Yeah. So you're like, this is odd, but I'm like, you've got one yourself.
No, it's the video aspect of it, I suppose.
Right.
Like, I think that, like, one of the things that sort of impresses me about you is that, you know, you are out there. You know, you're in the pictures and the videos and stuff all the time. For me, it's like you might see an arm.
But I think that works for you, because it's kind of like, who is this dude who's making all this weird? It's
just a shy guy. It's just a shy guy.
Yeah.
It's just a guy that doesn't have anyone to point a camera at him.
Yeah, I don't think TikTok, for you being like face to camera as like a kind of presenter, is the thing. I think it's just you doing those funny skit videos. And it's kind of like you're there, you're like giggling at a video that like doesn't have an ending, and then it just repeats itself.
I didn't know that reels had a limit, but apparently you can't make them longer than a minute.
It keeps changing all the time. It's like
it's a shame.
1 minute, 3 minutes,
like,
just keep
5 minutes of me just turning switches on and off, or on.
That's why I think you should be on TikTok, because people watch, they like, okay, when's the ending of this? And it just doesn't. You can go to like 5 or 10 minutes on TikTok now.
Oh, can you really?
On our account we can. I'm not sure like what account sizes and stuff you need for things, but
so on a couple of things on like, I don't know how you do it, but like, initially when I was making a reel, I would film it so I'd go into reels and I would film something, and then I would like film the next bit and film the next bit. And then I was like, oh no, you can add video to this and then cut it down, so I can just go around the house filming myself turning things on and off again, and then I can just arrange it in whatever order, which is great, obviously, and add the same video in 5 times if I wanted to. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. And so I spent all this time like kind of tweaking the length of some of the clips so that something happens here in time with the music. And then I'm like, yes, I got it. And then I'm like, right, I'm going to download this. I'm going to put it on TikTok. And it's like, download without the audio. And I'm like, fuck. And then you go onto TikTok and they don't have the same, you know, it's like a minute's worth of audio or whatever, but it's not the same section. It doesn't let you move around, like, so, but you know, we're trying to teach an old man how to.
It will change by next week anyway, and then it's I've got my way of doing those videos, but Emma's like bloody brilliant at it.
So there's you and Emma.
Emily.
Apologies.
Yeah, I call her Em. She's like brilliant at doing it, and then she watches my like shitty attempts. She's like, no one's going to watch that past this point, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. It's because I'm like not quick enough, like with the hooks or something. So I'm trying as well, but yeah, I'm much better on the other side of the camera, because then we just get told what to say and do. So it's like a little puppet. But I do see like a similarity to someone who's making zines and that zines and things are like art for art's sake, right? And they're like about something that you really love. And then making a TikTok video is very similar, because it's like clippings and telling a story, and in your case, it's kind of like curating all these bits that you're interested in, you find funny, and you like the aesthetics of.
I think that you know, people rail against stuff like TikTok, like for the wrong like they see people dancing, they see these viral videos, they go, oh, why. But you know, you can, like, I've got a mate who he builds his own synths, and he just records himself dicking about with synths, and it's awesome, and it goes on. And I went onto his TikTok, and it's huge. His TikTok's huge. And it's like, so there's all, you know, it's the same as anywhere. There's people that are going to be into, like, there's probably people painting Warhammer miniatures on TikTok.
Yeah,
you know, I'm
definitely.
sure there'll be a bit of everything. It's just when you're new to an app like that and you don't use it as a viewer, it just fires the popular shit at you, and it's always
so it works. It's trying to work
worst stuff, and it's like you until you go into that app and set up a list of people that you follow, you're just going to see like the worst stuff, because it's just going to fire stuff at you. And so I need to spend a bit of time with it. I've always just got frustrated with it. Doesn't feel very natural to use, I suppose. I quite like Instagram. Like I really like Twitter.
Yeah, I'm trying to get into Twitter, because I'm trying to get into, there are different apps that you have to use to project different things. Like I'm trying to get into like NFTs and crypto market, like trying to promote to them, and they don't give a shit about Instagram. They want Twitter and Discord and Medium. I don't even know what Medium is, but I've got to get on it. So
no, I don't know. I mean, I like Twitter because it's a place where you can kind of joke about quite easily, and you can respond to things with GIFs and pictures and stuff, you know, and you can quote other people's stupid tweets and call them an idiot and stuff like that. You know, it's fun. I don't sell much stuff through it apart from the cum shirt, but you know, Twitter is the one that I probably go onto and I enjoy the most. And people, you know, people talk about how shit it is and how shit Instagram is, and yeah, sure. Like
we're all just chatting shit. No one knows what.
I've made like genuine, real human friends on these apps that I would never have run into. Like they're all over the country. Like I would never have met this person probably. But actual proper friendships. And so, I mean, if you don't enjoy it, don't use it at the end of the day. But you know, everyone can get something out of it. It's like anything. Just if you abuse it, if you get addicted to it and you can't like look after your kid because you can't stop looking at your phone, like that is an issue. Like, but you know, making some jokes on the internet isn't the end of civilization, is it?
No, exactly. Tying into a trend and stuff. I can't wait to see what you come up with next, because and so like also just one other quick thing while I got you. You've got like Sticker Club, so that's like a Patreon group, right? That people can like buy into, and then what do they just get, like a pack of stickers monthly, or how does it work? Or
this will be like my first month. So I set it up just before the first of the month, which I believe is when they charge everybody,
right?
So I've not had any kind of, I've gone onto Patreon and tried to figure out how I get paid. I can't figure it out. They've not emailed me. They said wait until the 5th, which was a weekend day, so I was gonna chase it up this week. But basically I've got millions of stickers. Every time I put a shirt out, like stickers is like another one of my favorite things, because I would get a sticker made up for every release, and it wouldn't necessarily be the same design. Like it would be by the artist who made the shirt, and I would often they would tie in somehow. But my ideal situation would be a sticker that complements the shirt but isn't identical, and I would put one or two or a stack of them in with each shirt order and fire them off, and I also make, you know, also when I'm putting these orders in, I would, I don't know, get some dumb thing I've made up as a sticker as well, because I'm already ordering. And so I've just built up this collection. And then when we did the cum shirt, my friend Benno and I, we were sending each other cum memes all the time, just like replacing lines in movies with the word cum or whatever.
Right.
So there's a sticker, and it's Ivan Drago from whichever Rocky movie it was in, like Rocky IV or whatever. And it's the bit where he says, and he just goes, he's pulling this face, and it just says underneath it, "If he comes, he comes." And that's not my favorite one. Like after that, I was like, we don't need to make any more. That's the best one. But we, so because the cum shirt did so well, I would just, and we kept doing these, and I was posting them online because this whole stupid situation, and they were really popular. I was like, I'm just gonna get a bunch of these made up, and I'm just gonna throw a handful of different ones in with everybody's order. I ended up with so many, and I've still got them. And so I've got this collection of like this archive of stickers. They're not all like cum stickers. I
love that they've got their own archive now. It's got
I've got 2 shelves.
They're not just like a box anymore.
Oh no! Oh my god!
It's sort them out.
I've got so many, and I make new ones all the time. I'm having a delivery of them tomorrow. So I suppose I don't really have the audience to, you know, make these piles of stickers like go away like anytime soon. Like I always joke that if I die, like my wife's gonna have to just figure out what she's gonna do with all of this different stuff.
Make a museum.
Come on it. But I was like, you know what? I've got enough stickers. If I didn't make any more, that I could run a sticker club for like a year at least. And I'm constantly making new ones. And I've got a folder on my computer that's got a bunch of stickers that are probably like there's no point in making. So I was like, well, I could make, if I've got a sticker club, I can make them. And so, you know, it might, if everyone leaves, I'll just close it and pretend it never happened. But
it might go bloody apeshit. It might go.
It might, well, you know, it might, but it might just trickle over for a little while, which is the most likely thing. But that's the nuts and bolts of it is that I've not even specified how many stickers. It's going to be a good amount. It's going to be a good amount of stickers for the money. That's for sure. Not running out of them.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to run out of ideas. I can just, it's kind of like a little glimpse into your little sketchbook. It's like, that's really funny. Okay. I can't wait to see what other things you produce next week. So like people can follow you on like Rogue Print Co on Instagram, and that's the main one, and then it's like links through to all your other Patreon and
so you can, I've got like an all my link thing, so you can just click on that if you're interested. But this is thanks for doing this. It's an interesting podcast. Like I was thinking that you know, this is a thing that not a lot of people get to talk to other people about, because I don't know, it almost feels like a bit. So Sarah, you mentioned Heck Press, and so I found your podcast because you interviewed Mikey from Venus Sangria. Probably said that wrong.
No, you didn't. You did. I got that wrong loads of times. But it's
just edit out the bit where I seemed like
I do that as well. I like blah blah.
So that's how I found the podcast. So I've listened to it before, and you know, it's a kind of like a group of people that you don't really necessarily hear from a lot, and it can be a bit, I suppose, intimidating, because there's like a natural competition in, you know, our economic model, really, as it were, you know, to sort of survive. But in reality, you know, everyone's quite friendly. and approachable. Like so over the years, you know, been aware of Vino Sangra for forever. And you know, he posted like a Discharge shirt one day, and it was like this really beautiful vivid green, and I was like, whoa, how is that possible?
Yeah.
And he like linked me to the place that he got it, and he's like, yeah, get it from these guys. And it's like, you know, it's super helpful to have things like that when you're in this community. So I, for the longest time, like didn't really know anyone to follow. So whenever you post another interview, I'm just like, follow that person and see what they
It's what I'm finding. I'm like putting out like invites, and then the people who aren't responding are probably a bit too big and they're a bit commercial and they don't particularly see any point in it. And then the people who are responding and coming on, they're the people who just like want to communicate and want to chat, and like, and they want to be like part of the conversation and the community and stuff. So they're the people we want to hear from anyway. I'd
still be interested to hear from like a big shop though, you know.
I've got some coming up. Like I've got Awesome Merch. He's like pushed his one.
Who are you interviewing from Awesome Merch?
I know his name is, and I always forget it. It's the head guy.
Luke.
Luke.
Luke?
Yeah, Luke.
So
Luke
Awesome Merch are a really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, were you familiar with them years and years ago?
For I've known their story since I started the studio, I think, because they kept coming up on.
When we were in a band, like there used to be this company that you could get, like, you remember those little punk badges, the button badge?
That's how it started, isn't it?
And it was called Awesome Badges.
Right.
And I remember, like, I don't know necessarily if it was like on their website or if it was just like a word of mouth thing, but the story was there was this guy called Luke, and he bought like a badge machine, and he was at uni, and he was just like making badges, and then one day he got like an order for like 1 million badges,
from
and then
Phil
like,
Bailey, I think. Yeah,
it just blew up, and it was this huge, you know, it's like a Goliath in like merch in the UK now, isn't it? But
and it's in America now. He's got an American.
I mean, I use them. That's who I use for stickers, and like people, you know, I think that they've probably lost that indie sort
maybe that's why
when people look at them, maybe they don't think, oh, that's an independent company. I mean, I don't know what would qualify them as an independent company, but it's certainly like a, I mean, I don't know why we're talking about it, you're going to speak to the guy himself, but I'm very interested to hear that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get Fifth Column on as well, because obviously he's like who all the screen printers, like, you know, he's a big guy and he's been on it for a long time. And it's also quite a confusing dynamic. Like you hear stories like how these places started up, and they seem to have started in like the punk shirt and like punk bands, and then they've kind of just escalated into this mammoth. But yeah, like who else would you be interested to like?
Shit. I honestly don't know, like half the people that you've had on, like I've followed because you've had them on. I wasn't aware, like I think that you know, following other print places is a new thing for me. Not because I don't know why, it just felt weird, I think.
It's opening up though, isn't it? Yeah, it's because we were just forward facing, talking about like our products, and there's no like point. We were like, yeah, I can do that too. There's no point in seeing that. If we're talking about like why we do what we do, what our studio is like, the struggles we've had, then that's the interesting bit that we'll find interesting about each other, I suppose.
Totally. I've certainly found it more interesting seeing other people's like stuff, like equipment and things like that. And I think part of it was like a bit of you know, especially when you're in like a garage, see like these wonderful studios, you're like, these motherfuckers. So yeah, I don't know, like I'm certainly following a lot more.
It's so funny though, because you're saying that, and then other people are like, I want to just get rid of all my presses, fire my employees, and just work on my own stuff.
Yeah.
So in a lot of respects, you're in
I'm
the
not
dream
complaining.
situation.
I am absolutely
Exactly.
complaining. Like
Yeah,
the minute that I realized that I could just be my own thing, make everything myself and print it, and you know, work with artists that I wanted to work with directly, and not deal with, you know, haggling bands all the time. Like, and this is another thing. Like another thing that I, you know, with Mikey and Vino Sangre is that, you know, I felt like I would get pitted against them a lot. Like I would get people saying, "Oh, they've quoted me this. What do you say?" And I'm like, "Go with them."
Yeah.
Like, they've already quoted you. Like, go with them. Like, I can't beat that. Like, and you know, you see people with auto presses, or even just a cruiser, and I'm like, you know, I can't go that fast. Like, I'm
like, I'm having to move my flash over. Do you know how long that
one
takes?
station, I'm swinging my flash. I'm like by hand. Like, it's kind of impossible to compete on price when you're printing.
So don't.
So you kind of, well, yeah, exactly. But then you then don't work a little bit, don't you? So you know, I'm lucky.
Yeah, I think you've curated it, and it's not luck, but
I've made it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Matt.
And
I really love your picture. It's the best one yet.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm glad.
It's so funny. I opened it up in my email, and I was like, yeah, and then I scrolled up, and it was like, oh, that's why he sent it to me. Yeah. So other people will see that now as well. That's cool.
Nice.
Okay, I'll let you get on, but thank you very much. I really
lovely to speak to you.
Okay, cheers.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye, Matt.